Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. If you haven't been to buy me a coffee, you should go. I've had some pretty good brainstorms lately. I save the best for there because you know what? People pay for that. That is where you find the first and business class sections of Jet Black Air. Um, Business class being those who send in any support at all, and first class being the recurring monthly subscribers. I've already placed in there things like what it's actually like to live abroad, um, what it's like to live in Saudi, especially in developed areas versus undeveloped areas. Now that where I live is developed and I almost never have to go to some undeveloped village anywhere, I put that up there for y'all. Um, but then I've even found some of the old things that I put up on the old Black Trions and have uploaded them. But I recently actually explained why Cheyenne Bryant was on all them double standards. I'm pretty much explaining why sisters have a lot of these double standards. Um, I had a brainstorm that took me through that mindset, and I said it for those who would go on that site, and I uploaded it there. But here on YouTube, I uploaded something about um, I'm talking about the one right before this one here. Um, when I talked about the real true threat to the BMPTs, whether your Passport Bro, SOSBM, Passport Gang, IBMOR, I uploaded about that already. This would wind up being the case. Mr. International brought up a valid point. And while his point is valid, there's a reason that I didn't go straight for that, but I should not have completely ignored it too. He talked about how while we're looking at Boomshika and Bonquesha, the ones that do travel and are now traveling to places we like to go, like the DR, Colombia, Thailand, the Philippines, Brazil, and they try to spread feminism. He said Brad will go abroad and ruin our image as much as he can. Travel time with Paul is not very popular amongst the passport bros. I don't like or hate travel time with Paul. I don't know him. I only know this. I know that the travel time with Paul doesn't really view a lot of these places as being very different. And he has more of this game type approach where you need to get your game up even in the West, because if you in the West and they mistreat you, they just gonna do the same thing over there. I don't think that men need to try to become more appealing to Western niches. It doesn't work. He's already seen what happens. He's actually been in Pattaya and he has seen the worst that these places have to offer, the westernized women, the Western niches that are even from these places. I mean, you got ghetto chicks in Thailand. They're low vibrational. Um, you have that there. And he ran into that and didn't have to go looking for it. It came looking for him. But I mention this because Travel Time with Paul experienced getting into a fight with a white Western guy that turned out to be racist. Normal, regular, run-of-the-mill conversation. Then he just started talking about the fried chicken and started some stuff. And it was a continental African brother that also jumped in and sort of spirited Travel Time with Paul away before the cops showed up, because He did not want um, this white guy to tell his side of the story to the cops. That is very true. Mr. International was right about what Brad will do. I do not want us to ignore that, especially those of you that have gone and you've gone to these areas and you've seen and you have heard that, witnessing this firsthand. Now, where I live, these white guys that are racist are not going to have a lot of conversations with the locals, and get a chance to start talking about n words this and darkies that and rastas that. They don't get a chance because they're not going to get in conversations with the locals for the most part, and they shouldn't. And locals aren't going to listen. That type of thing would not necessarily work here. I mean, you can put some things on TV for the most part, but when locals hear, a few of them have even tried to repeat the propaganda in Arabic, Arabs have shut them down. I just got through telling y'all how we can't go and stick our necks out for Palestine anymore. Not right now. And they're some of the most likely to understand our plight. But I myself have sat up here, and I mean, the second to last recording before this one was about that, why Edward had to cook them. But by the same token, many of you will be shocked to know that Wyatts can't go into the peninsula. Now, they might be able to pull this off in the Mediterranean outside of Palestine. Egyptians will listen. You want to talk to Egyptians about the problems with darkies and you're white, they'll listen to you for the most part, especially the northerners. But they can't come in a peninsula with that mess. Black folks is black folk that. I can talk history and tell them about white folks. So I have to admit that I overlooked this because it wasn't something that happens here. And I haven't lived in a place where they would pull that off. I haven't lived in these environments. That's one way by which I rule out a place to live in it. Can white folk go and start talking about us darkies and the locals listen? Can I go and start talking about them white folk and then they shut me down and don't listen? I'm not going to live in a place like that. If I can't go to Colombia and tell them about them white folk that colonized them too as well, but they'll listen to one of them talk about us darkies and us spooks and spades and throw out around all the other racial epithets that they got, and they'll listen, then I'm not going to live there. If there's a part of Africa where that type of thing would fly, but my factual retorts would not fly, I wouldn't live there either. And that's one of the things I like about being here. I can tell these folks about white folk. There's a way to do it, but I can do that. A racist out here that can't stand me can only tolerate the locals but so much, and they're not going to have conversations with them either. That's what happens. They're going to have conversations with each other. They're going to have conversations with us, the Westerners that are not white, that they don't really like very much because we still have work to do. We still have a job to do together. That's what's going to wind up happening. But I'm also going to mention this. The reason I didn't talk much about Brad is because not only do I not live where they could pull that off and ruin our image, but the other reason is because I don't hear about Brad traveling to these areas specifically for the purpose of keeping us from finding anybody else. I don't hear about that. Do I hear about them traveling? Yes. Would they say something about us? I'm sure they would. They did it in France during World War II. They did it in the South Pacific Islands where the people there themselves were black and told them to watch out for the black Americans. They did that. Even there. But the other thing too is that I don't know about them going specifically to the Colombia, the DR, Thailand, or the Philippines just to tell them that we ain't fit and don't give us the time of day. I don't hear about that happening, or I don't hear about that being the reason that they go. Now, they may go because they want the women, but I don't hear about them going there specifically to lie about us and to ruin our chances so that we're going to be stuck with the same attitudes no matter where we go. That's part of the reason I didn't mention that. See, I don't know how much out of the way they're willing to go to do this. I know that sisters are willing to damn near go out of their way to make sure that we don't have options. Mr. International's point is a valid point. I just wasn't ignoring it per se completely. Like, it's not like I didn't care at all. It's just more so that I didn't really see it as the same threat, because I have a tendency to understand that if we're not mentioned or we're not in sight of white folk, then we're under their radar. But you know what, man? Now that he mentioned it, I'm going to ask those of you that live in those other places, not where I live. I know what the deal is, but those of you that are in these other places, that you're in Southeast Asia or you're in Latin America, and you're coming across Westerners that are both white and black, and maybe even other Westerners, you let me know. What is that like? How much are we on these guys' radar? How much is Brad really going out of his way, if at all, to ruin our image amongst in the local marriage markets? Tell me, fill me in, because he was the first one to even give me any feedback about that particular phenomena. Others have made some passing remarks about it before, but I'm telling you, if Brad is really going to do that type of thing and make a concerted effort, I'm not going to ignore him either. But I don't want to overreact or underreact. So y'all give me feedback as to how much they're really doing as far as you know in your necks of the woods. And I'll address it properly based on that feedback. I hope that what I said helps and is a benefit, and I hope it's fair. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power, because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thanks for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.